Dr. Washington is a licensed psychologist in Florida and Washington, D.C. He has taught, lectured in several colleges and has expertise, he has taught his expertise out with Roland Martin, Essence Magazine, BET, News, Vocal Point, and many other national and international organizations. Currently, he is the president of the National Association of Black Psychologists. I'm going to put a footnote on that because when I was a young man, I helped found the National Association of Black Psychologists. So my son and my colleague now to be the head of an association that I helped found is an important, significant moment. And you don't do much in life that you're proud of, but I'm proud of the fact that he continues developing healing paradigms for persons of African ancestry who have been impacted by persistent enslavement, systematic trauma. Let me point out, we know about post-slavery traumatic stress, and people talk about it a lot. You know, Joy DeGroot. Yes. Specific work. What Kevin has added is that it ain't post. It ain't post. It's consistent. And he's one of the intellectuals that is leading us to reframe our ability, because you can't heal if you don't have the right medicine. This work is critical to the advance of Ubuntu psychological psychotherapy. He is the founder of Ubuntu psychotherapy, and as the founder of Ubuntu psychotherapy, he has advanced a culturally sensitive modality for mental health counseling and psychotherapy to be utilized by psychotherapists. We're in the midst of shifting on the bridge and letting ourselves see that there's something that we have to do that is us, and that we have to draw on our stuff to do that. It's no longer the case where we're taking a black crayon or a brown crayon and painting the white cartoon brown and saying this is for black kids. We have to develop our own essence out of these things, and Kevin is one of the leading people in the association that is struggling to do that. And it is a struggle. And we're not there yet. But there's the community forums like this that help us move us forward. Through his research and writing, he seeks to assist people to live life with power, purpose, and passion. I need to point out that I'm also pleased, as a resident of Alameda County, as a father who has raised all his children in Oakland, California, that Alameda County Behavioral Health Care has had the wisdom through Gigi to reach out to people like Kevin. All day long, I will forecast for you, all day long I will be pointing out the importance of the Association of Black Psychologists in this healing process. It ain't just healing. It ain't just all people sick. It ain't all people got the blues. It is that we have a special experience and we need a special medicine to heal that medicine. And for me, it is the thinking and the theories and the therapies that are developed by those people, men and women who call themselves Pan-African Black Psychologists. And I present to you one of the best Pan-African Black psychologists, my son, my colleague, my friend, my father to my granddaughter, his daughter's with him, Dr. Kevin Washington.
I enjoyed hearing about this Dr. Kevin Washington. I was just listening and tears were coming in my eyes because whoever this person is, he got to be bad. Right? He got to be awesome. I was just sitting there, I wanted to hear some more, about this Dr. Kevin Washington. I want to know what else is to this person. And then he said, "Oh, you guys time to talk." Well, that's me. It is a challenge at times to live life in a manner that is pleasing to people. To please people that you really love, that you care about. When I live my life, I want to make sure that I do everything in my power to be pleasing to my father who is deceased. And I think about what would he say or do about what I am engaged in at this time. I want to please my mother. And then there is family outside of them that have shaped and molded my thinking. And so for my father to say that what we have done to date is pleasing. It just really is a heartfelt moment. Literally tear in my eye, because people just don't have to take you into their family. They don't have to be nice to you. They don't have to do those things. They don't have to like you.
That's true.
They don't have to embrace you and shape you and want to help guide you. We live in a world where there are iPods and there is iPad and there is an iPhone and there's a game called Wii with 2 eyes, and everything in our space is about an I reality. That's the part about the problem. This is you part of the talk about Brother Horatio. We do all this and other stuff right now. We're into this I world, but when somebody says, I embrace you, and so Dr. Nobles, if I did, you have led and guided me, you have helped me to remain sane in an insane situation. It was listening to your lectures that allowed me to be able to figure out who in this hell I was. Some of y'all don't get nervous. Don't get nervous, because this idea of hell is mentioned in the Bible, and hell is not a physical place. There is the idea of hell in your own mind. When your mind is just not functioning properly and you're in a state of hell. People say that you're going to make me lose my mind up in here. And so when you engage in the process, I haven't got started yet. I don't know why I'm even right here. I haven't told you what we were talking about, but I apologize, because when we talk about this idea of existing in a space where there is perpetual oppression and human denigration, we're in a situation of hell. It is a mental, tumultuous place to be in. Y'all ain't feeling this right now. You can feel what is being said right about now. I also am a preacher, but I have promised that I won't preach today. Commitment not to engage in that process, but however, something is just happening in this house, and I just got to be obedient to that. We have to recognize that in Romans 12:2 it says that we should not conform, but it says that we should be what? And we have to catch the idea of being transformed by the renewing. Would we have to have our minds renewed? Because there is something that is entered into a space that is created a hellacious moment, and we have to find ways to get out of it. Ephesians 6:12 clearly tells us that we wrestle not and what else? What is then the function of this darkness? What does this darkness cause us to engage in? And what happens when we have a moment that begins to move us to not understand who we are, and then we find ways trying to relate to one another in a moment of hell? Watch this. We don't want to move from one thing to the next because somehow we've become comfortable in hellacious states. It's a sad state of affairs that people can begin to find comfort in a moment of dis-ease, that they can find some way to make sane an insane situation. There's a problem when people begin to not understand who they really are, but they become disconnected with the reality of their falsehood, and they begin to identify with that as the premier essence of who they be. Y'all ain't catching this right now. Because every time a person uses the N-word to describe themselves, it is the oppressor's language that is dominating their life. That's a moment there. That's a moment of hell. We have to recognize it. This is a psychological phenomenon. Anytime somebody utilizes the terminology of a grown man who is going to a crib, he is bought into his own inferiority. Wow. See, babies reside in cribs. So when a grown man is going to a crib, we know there's a mental condition that has come over them to make them see themselves as perpetual children. And they can walk through an entire community and talk about my boy. You are a grown man and you're still a boy. Something's wrong with that situation, and we have to recognize that is a moment of hell, but that came through conditioning. That came through a process that created this identity that one is an N and one is a boy, and then he can only hook up with B's and... Because if I call Brother Jones my dog, by default I called his mother. See, what happens to people when they begin to get into a conditioned state and begin to assume that a position, a point of insanity is normal. And then we got to recognize that we do make some things that are unnatural normal.
Right. We do.
And we begin to justify those things, and the natural becomes abnormal. I got off track, but I'll get back.
Take your time. Come on, Sunday.
Because my daughters and I were talking one day, and we had a conversation about hair, and I said that I have a private practice, and in order for a European female to come to my practice and work, she must coil her hair tight enough for me to find it pleasing, then she can work with. She said, Daddy, that doesn't make any sense. I said, well, it doesn't make any sense the other way around then. Y'all don't get quiet, don't know what you're testing. Some of y'all think I'm not stepping anybody's toes. I'm saying something that we need to hear. And the issue is that how can you do natural? How can you become natural when natural is what you are from your essence?
All right. That's good.
How can you go natural with your hair when natural is what you got to understand the language? Are you understanding what somebody? I'm not talking about anybody. I want you to catch it. Don't get stirred. You can't go to what you already are. It is natural. Not just simply about hair. It's not about language. It's about a whole process of people not understanding who they really are.
Come on now.
Trying to make sense out of nonsense. And then here we have a position where we suggest that black minds matter. We want to be the first ones to run and say all lives matter. I did not say a doggone thing about nobody else mattering. Pause for a moment. If we're on this street right now and this church is burning, the church is on fire. It didn't, because a fire truck stops right here, it didn't mean that no other house or building mattered. This house is on fire. And so the truck will stop at this house to make sure that the fire gets put out. The issue is that it's not about because I say I love myself, I love my mother, doesn't mean I hate your mother. That is European dichotomous thing that says that it's either or. Because I love myself doesn't mean I have to hate you.
Come on.
I promise you, Jones, I wasn't going to do this. Is your fault. I was coming to be a psychologist today.
Do both. You got that talent. You can do both.
We're so caught up into trying to be fair and trying to be right. I am fair when I understand who I am and how to love myself.
Thank you, Gigi. That's it.
I fly on airplanes all the time, and he says that if the cabin should lose pressure, the mask will drop from the top of the cabin. Place the mask on your face first before trying to assist somebody else. That's what it said. And we're so busy and can't help anybody because we can't help ourselves. Don't stop to try to help somebody. That's a part of a pathological sickness that we have. Always running to save somebody else, and we got stuff happening in our own space. And yet we come to churches talking about the truth shall set you free. We were scared to tell the truth. But we saw a democratic process, a conference, convention, the first night of the Monday, and I'd be doggone if not 90% of the powerful moments that came out of the convention was about the African black experience. Right. Y'all don't. When they talked about enslavement of people and talked about children playing on the lawns, but the house was built by enslaved labor, and all of the things they kept talking about was about our experience, and we are afraid to speak truth and say we have some issues that we need to deal with. We are afraid to have a conversation and talk about the shootings of black men specifically because we are afraid of offending someone. How long do you want to live a lie? That's a mental condition.
Yes, it is.
Because the process of enslavement, the reason why people were enlisted in the first place was not to make sure that the person that was dead, that was hung, died, but it's to make sure that those that passed by began to go into a moment of passivity and not try to rise up against the powers that are oppressing them. So when the strange fruit was hanging, it was not about the person, but it's about those that walked by and would see that person hanging, and they would begin to move into a tune of passivity and submission because they said that if I don't, this could happen to me and my son. Watch the process. Don't think I'm going off. I ain't going off yet. Because when we see Alton Sterling being shot on the ground, recognize that it is not simply about him physically being shot, but he reminds us of our own inability to have power in a space. That claims that we are somehow, but we don't come out and say that we dance around the topic. Dancing. Don't dance around it, it's real. When Eric Garner was handled, it's real. When we come to Philando Castile, it's real. And as Gigi said, that those are just the ones that we've seen on video. That's right. And all around the country, when I'm talking and speaking, and I'm hearing brothers talking, one brother said the other night, he said that, and now they see what I'm dealing with. Think about what he just said in a moment. He said that of all the things that I'm encountering, I've been telling somebody, they haven't been hearing what I've been saying. And I have to revel in the fact that somebody has gotten shot and killed for my voice to be heard. That's a strange moment to exist. It's a strange moment to have to say that I'm glad it happened. You can see it, but I hate my brother died for you. So here we go, we talk about Black Lives Matter, and then somebody says all lives matter. Again, having our voices taken away. I didn't say that no other voice mattered. Tell it. You step on my toe and I say, ouch, I'm the problem. Got to deal with that. I say, ouch, why you screaming? Because you on my toe. Get your foot off my toe, we can renegotiate our relationship with one another. We say that we can't breathe, and somebody comes back and says, I can't breathe, or we can't breathe. Always devaluing our experiences, and this is where we exist in a space where our experience is devalued. We are left questioning ourselves. Well, maybe because of the idea of being human, the humanity part. Yes, there's a beauty to being human. It's a wonderful thing when you can be human, you can love somebody with compassion, that you can feel their pain, you can be empathetic. It's beautiful to be in relationship with people who are human. It's beautiful to engage in relationships when other people are being human. But when people have not demonstrated humanity, I don't care how human you try to be, they still will be who they have to be. That's right. You all know the story of the man with the snake. He took the snake in, and the snake bit him, and he says, why'd you bite the snake? And he says, you knew I was a snake. realize that what we are dealing with is not simply a system, but we're dealing with a system of thinking. And that thinking has become a part of a populace and has become normalized, and we have to engage in the process of renewing our mind. Life is filled with moments that are challenging. I don't care what you do. I used to ask my mother, why is this happening? She says, baby, it's called life. I don't care what you do or go through, something is going to happen, good or not so good. What I found out is that life never happens the way I planned it. It happens either better than I planned it or worse than I planned it, but rarely exactly as I planned it. And most of the time it is better than I planned it, but I'm not even conditioned to see the better. Because I'm so preoccupied with the worst. I got a whole narrative about either you going into a storm, and you're in a storm, you come out of a storm. My life ain't based on storms.
That's good.
Can we pause on that one for a moment? I live in Florida. I go to Washington, D.C. Florida, we know that between 2 and 5 or 6, every day in the summer, there's going to be some rain. We can predict it, okay, what time of the year it is, okay, there's going to be a storm that's going to come about this time. So we used to plan certain things, my daughters and I. We used to actually have, it was my time to stick some stuff in myself, right? I said, okay, right now, the rain's going to come, so we're going to have a nap time. Because we knew when it was going to come. But the beautiful thing is that you don't think about storms when you think about Florida. It is called you think about the sunshine. You don't even know that it rains. If you go to Orlando right now, they will give you ponchos to go to Disney and everything else because they know that it's going to rain. But you call Florida what? The sunshine. Why does the population begin to assume that everything about it is doom and gloom? Conditioning. You can't even see the beauty that is within. So preoccupied with negativistic language about self and believing that self is somehow inferior. I am not inferior to any person. I don't have to hem and haw, buck and dance and scratch and do anything. And the beauty of where I stand right now is not because I got here by myself. The beauty of it is that there were thinkers, and there are thinkers right now like Dr. Nobles who infused us with this kind of knowledge to say, you can stand on something. And there was somebody that came before him that said, and you can stand on something. And somebody that came before him said, you can stand on something. The question right now is, what message do we leave people coming behind us that they can stand on? That's the real question. This moment right now, we talk about this idea of pain. Pain has the fundamental purpose of having us to recognize that something must change.
Yeah, that's right.
Man was riding on a tractor, and the tractor was making a loud noise. He put earphones on his ear. He didn't want to hear the pain. He didn't want to hear the noise. The tractor just breaks down in the middle of the field. He gets frustrated. All the tractor was telling him is that it was just time to put some oil in it. We live our lives. We run from pain. We buy all kind of medication, pain. Because I'm not against pharmaceuticals. Don't get me wrong. We need some stuff that help us with some stuff. I get that. But rather than deal with some water, you want to get the water through drowning a pill in it. Because I don't want to feel the pain. The pain has the purpose of telling us that things should change. And right now in our communities, it is a painful moment. It is a painful moment to see a black man who surrendered himself on the pavement in Miami, and for somebody to shoot him and say, why did you shoot him? Said, Dr. Nobles, when I was growing up, that was the best way to get a backhand slap. Why you did what you did? I don't know. Bam! I had to learn to think very quickly. I got to say something. What had happened was, right, I learned to think quickly while moving at the same time. And can say it with conviction, and then have people to begin to have a situation where they liken the idea of radical Afrocentrism with people retaliating against oppression. Wait a minute, what are you saying? What are you saying? That how all of a sudden my expression of who I am is radical and antithetical to your existence, when in reality I express myself this way because you've been antithetical to my existence. Yeah. Some of y'all didn't catch that. This is the moment that we have been waiting for. We have come to a point where people recognize it, but the issue is that not the idea does Black Lives Matter, do it matter, or Black Minds Matter. The issue is that do you know? Do you know that Black Minds Matter? Do you know that Black Lives Matter? If you know, then act like you know. My grandmother says that if you know better, then do better. She said, why you did what you did? I did what I did because what it is, he says, look, I need you to act like you know. Don't just try to ask somebody, to beg somebody to say you matter. Right. Act like you matter. Come on, that's what we're doing with the Black psychology, this idea of transforming things. People go look in the mirror and they have all these things they don't like about themselves. Too fat, too skinny, they're too tall, they're too short, the nose too big, this is like this, all kinds of stuff you don't like, but then you go out in the world and want somebody to love you unconditionally. I want you to love me for me. You need to stop looking at the mirror and say, I love me. I love me some Gigi. That's a command. To look in the mirror, and have a love affair with ourselves. We don't have to advertise that Black Lives Matter. We don't have to advertise that Black Minds Matter. When you walk like you have good sense, when you act like you have good sense, and good sense means that you don't let somebody go around choking you all day long and trying to say, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry because my neck became convenient for your hands. No. When you know that you matter, you walk like you matter. When you know that you matter, you are not afraid to talk like you matter. Yes. When you know that you matter, you don't mind thinking, because you understand that everything in this space, and I'm done with this, everything in this space came as a result of somebody's thoughts. Amen. Even some of y'all don't want to admit it, but y'all with somebody's thought. Not the other kind of thought either. Not that thought. All right? I know I saw you over there already smiling when I said thought. Some of y'all don't know what a thought is. You need to consult with our experts about what is the T-H-O-T? Thought. I just want to be clear. Because before we go off, they say I said something I didn't say. But everything is a function of somebody's thinking. That's right, that's right. Even you. Somebody look at somebody and say, My mother and father looked at one another and said, You follow what I'm saying? And then I manifest. They know all this is going to come out, but they just said, well, they looked at one another, they admired one another. Right. Everything exists there. The issue is that we must be transformed, renewed by our thinking. How do you see yourself? Dr. Jackson, that's part of the work in the ABCS. How do Black people see themselves? How do they embrace themselves? How do they love themselves? How do they walk, talk like they are royalty? Dr. Noble's always reminds us that we are a royal noble people. That's trying to get his name Noble, right? So Noble. She said that we are noble people. Act like that. Yes. Stop begging. That's it. Stop it. You need to cut it. Some of y'all don't know what I just talked about. The song talks about your brick is too big. talking about cocaine. I'm done.
No, you got 5 more minutes. Keep going.
Talk about the brick is too big, you need to cut it. But you need to cut it. But it's not just the brick we need to cut. It's some other stuff we need to cut. Because the cost of carrying it around is just too high. The cost when you lose your voice, when you should be speaking. The cost of when you're talking, you should be quiet. Right? But some people don't get that. Some people talking and they just, hey, cut it. Some people are thinking a whole lot. You can cut it, do something. See, whereas we understand that action without thought is dangerous. To think without taking action is detrimental. A lot of us are doing a lot of thinking. Just stand up. Because what we are asking for has already been delivered. But we are afraid to step out on it because we don't believe the stuff we come into church and singing and snotting and crying about it. Sing all kind of songs and sing and snot and cry and hoop and holler, fall, right all on the ground and all kind of stuff and don't activate a doggone thing. I got faith. It's how the mustard seed. Will faith without works? Pain allows us to recognize 3 things. Our purpose. Pain allows us to recognize or understand the idea of power, who we really are, and allows us to live with passion. Pain allows us to understand that there is something in our lives that is bigger than ourselves. We're bigger than an I world. We're bigger than all of that. Nobody came here because they created themselves. That's right. I ask my students if I walk into the classroom and I'm not there, are you all students? They say yes. I say it can't be. It's impossible because there's no teacher there. When I walk in this room and y'all not here, I'm not a teacher. I'm just somebody walking around in the room. When you show up, now we have a relationship. The pain should remind us of our true purpose. Why are you here? It is to make some things operate and function differently. Pain allows us to understand our true power. That when we can begin to move from this process of being indoctrinated with a mindset of helplessness and hopelessness, and we begin to take action and make things happen, we realize how powerful we are. You don't know you're powerful until you get into some stuff and make some things happen. I'm a vera, folks walking to the gym, they don't just look at the weights, get muscles on them. You got to engage in some stuff. You got to lift, you got to squat, you got to push, you got to press, you got to make some, you got to do some stuff. And then guess what happens? Just in a moment of need, something is going on, you can begin to exercise that outside in the real world because you've been in the gym building your muscles. The things that we encounter, we have painful moments, are building spiritual muscles. Brother Jones, we got some people who are spiritually weak. They have been working out. Anemic. Atrophy. They can talk a good game. Have not exercised their faith. Your spiritual muscles are not granted to you because you can quote scripture. Quote scripture. Scripture. That's what you say. Scripture. Your spiritual muscle is granted to you because you have engaged in the gymnasium of life. We are now having a moment where we have to show up with some strength.
Yes, yes.
Where I was from, people always say strength.
Strength.
Because he was strong. Purpose, power, passion. To observe a woman giving birth to a child is one of the most helpless moments that I have ever experienced in my entire life. Because there was nothing that I could do.
That's right.
I could see their mother writhing in pain. I could see all kind of stuff happening, but there was nothing that I could do. But in that painful moment, I also observed the passion that their mother had to move through to give birth. And when that child that came out, number 2 is a special story. She hears this more now that she's gotten older. That she turned before she made it past a certain point and her shoulder got caught. And they had to do a special maneuver to get her out and to realize that this child was stuck. And to watch her mother have this desire to still want to keep moving through. And all I could do at that point was I had to move back into another space and go to prayer. I just couldn't handle it. The first one I was good with. I was cool. She turned it and popped on out. I was like, yeah, there's number 1. But number 2 did something very different. But the point I want to make here is that in the midst of pain, and the child, both children came out and their mother did the same thing. After all of that, she just embraced them and held them. I don't know how many dudes can do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you caught all this pain, you know, you got to go over there. We need some space, right? Think about this a little bit longer. But the passion that is there, and I'm suggesting to us that right now we're in a moment where we need to give birth to something new, and that we have some pains, but we just can't stop because we're in pain. We have to give birth, and that's a part of our passion, that is to extend life. I would close with this narrative, the story of this king that had a son, and the son could get anything that he wanted for his birthday. And so the son came to his father and said, I would love to have a statue of myself. And the king was perplexed because, you know, I'm the king. I can give you a lot of stuff. Why you want a statue? He said, I don't want a statue of myself. So he said, son, I'm going to give you a moment to think about that. So he came back a week later. Son, what do you want for your birthday? He thought about it. He says, I want a statue of myself. He says, well, son, you can have anything. I'm going to give you another moment. And so another week went by. He said, I would love to have a statue of myself. So what happened in the process is that the father finally broke down and said, son, we never told you this, but you're not like everybody else. Your back is crooked. You don't look like everybody else. You're different. He says, well, if it makes you feel better, Dad, then build a statue of what I would look like without the hump in my back and place it in the garden for all to see. The father thought that was strange, but the artisans came together. They created the statue, and every day the son would think about the father. He would look at the statue days he felt lonely. He looked at the statue days when he felt like he wanted to feel at peace. He would look at the statue. One day his father came and watched him look at the statue. He says, son, what are you doing? He says, I look at the statue. He says, but you look different. He said, what do you mean? He says, the hump in your back is gone. Hallelujah. He says, well, Dad, all you had to do was show me an image of what I could become. So, we're all image makers. And the question becomes, what are we going to do with this pain? Are we going to make some new images, or are we going to start talking about the fact that we got humps in our back? Thank you so much.